Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the book of Exodus, chapter 2, verses 11 through 25. Now, Moses grows up in the royal court of Pharaoh. He is a prince of Egypt, but he comes to find out that he's a Hebrew, which means he belongs to the slaves, and he's watching their hard labor. In the sense of that Hebrew word is that he empathizes with them. There's emotion there. And he sees a taskmaster who is violently abusing a slave, and he steps in. Now, where he could have simply, as a royal authority, could have just said, you need to stop that. Instead, he carries it too far, and he ends up killing the man. And the next day, when he comes upon some Hebrew slaves who are fighting with each other, and he intercedes, he interrupts them, they mock him in a sense. They're like, what, you're going to kill us too? And so that his act of violence doesn't give him credibility, but instead, perpetrates that he also is a threat. And when he says, what I did must have become known, we realize that he knows this is wrong. He knows this is wrong because the killing wasn't necessary. He knows that it's wrong because it wasn't God's will. God had not called him to take up arms. And that's because God's way is not about promoting our fame, our power, our violence, right? And it's ridiculous. What, did Moses think he was going to liberate the slaves one person at a time? It's just nuts. But as he's discovered, he flees, and then Pharaoh finds out, and Pharaoh says, I want him dead or alive, but really I want him dead. And Moses has to get out. He has to have his own exodus from Egypt. And where he was 40 years in the royal court in Egypt, now he's 40 years out in the desert, where he has to learn to rely upon God for all that he has. He comes upon the daughters of the priest of Midian who are being harassed by some shepherds. And this time Moses doesn't kill anyone. He drives them away and comes to their rescue. And one of the things they say about him was that he even drew water for us, which is very unmanly thing to do. That's what the women did. But this is a sense of his servanthood. And where he is brought on now, God is working in Moses to train him for his task by having him out in the wilderness, by bringing him into the circumstances of belonging to the priest of Midian and being married and having a family. He's learning to depend upon God, learning to serve God, and learning that God is not interested in his accomplishments or his power or violence, but rather that God wants him to rely upon the Lord, that God is going to bring about the rescue and the salvation of the Hebrews, not through Moses' strength, but through the power of God alone, for God's glory alone. And so in these years of being out in the wilderness, Moses is being prepared. We need to remember that when we're going through hard times, that perhaps that's exactly what God intends, so that we can be prepared to trust the Lord, to rely upon the Lord, and be used by God. Thank you, my friends. Have a blessed day.